So when we're thinking about Revelation as a whole book and not just piecemealing different visions or different parts of the visions, there clearly is this theme of Jesus throughout it. But what would you say, like, where would we find the thesis
that's
of
a
Revelation?
great question. And one of the questions had to do with chapter 1, verse 7. Mm-hmm. So this might be a good time to talk about that. One of the questions was, should we take chapter 1, verse 7 as like a figural or literal account of the second coming? And this is where it gets a little bit tough, because the quote is, and the reason I mentioned that question in this is because this is what I think is the thesis. So in chapter 1, verse 7, you get, look, he is coming on the clouds, and that's a quote from Daniel chapter 7. And then you get a quote from Zechariah chapter 12, every eye will see him, even those who pierced him, and all the peoples will mourn because of him. And so you got these two different texts, one about, in Daniel 7, you have one like a son of man who is vindicated over these beasts that come out of this beast that comes out of the sea. Mm-hmm. And he comes on the clouds, but if you pay attention, he's not coming from heaven to earth, he's coming to the throne of heaven. So one like a son of man comes on the clouds to the Ancient of Days, which is God, and he's enthroned on this heavenly throne, and books are open, and he judges, and his kingdom is an everlasting kingdom. Right? So that's not about the second coming, it's about the ascension. Yeah. Daniel 7 is about the ascension. And so when John quotes Daniel 7 at the beginning of Revelation, he wants us to understand Revelation is about the triumph of the Lamb. This is an apocalyptic, image-driven vision that is substantiating the claim that Jesus has been enthroned in heaven at the right hand of God the Father Almighty. He shares a throne with the Ancient of Days, and his kingdom is an everlasting kingdom. The Zechariah quote, those who pierced him and all peoples on earth will mourn because of him, is a way of saying his exaltation is his vindication against his unjust death. Right? And so those who pierced him are going to realize that they acted as part of the rebellion. And they'll have to give an account for that. Yeah. So this is what Revelation is about. It's about the ascension of Jesus to the throne of heaven, and the whole document assumes that as present reality, and the insistence that those who oppose his kingdom will experience his justice.
And it's quite brilliant of John to use those references because people would be familiar with them. They would know them by heart.
That's right. Any Jewish reader in the first century is going to know, like, that's not going to be confusing to them. Yeah. Oh, this is about the vindication of the Messiah against those who inflicted persecution on him. And then that is intended to encourage faithful believers in the churches that get the letter. Yeah. So be faithful and you'll participate in the vindication. And if you aren't faithful and make your bed with the beast, then your lot will be with those who pierced him. Yeah. Right. So it's both a comfort and a warning all at the same time. But now let me be clear. That's not a denial of the second coming, right? Yeah. It's just a recognition that sometimes when the Bible uses the word coming, you have to pay attention, coming from where to where, right? And so frequently Daniel 7 gets quoted. Like, we're here in the 21st century, we think, well, Jesus has gone to heaven. We're waiting for him to come back. Yeah. And so we hear that word coming and we automatically think, well, second coming, because that's what we talk about. When actually, a lot of times when Daniel 7 is quoted, it's about his vindication, not about the second coming. To be absolutely clear, that's not a denial of the second coming. I believe in the second coming, and Revelation points to the second coming and the consummation of all things, the new creation and the final judgment, all that's there. It's just not here.
So how much of Revelation is about the second coming and how much is about the first?
Yeah. So that's one of the things
that
one of the things that comes up is the vast majority of Revelation is teasing out the implications of something that happened 2,000 years ago. Right? So Jesus ascended, and the vision in chapter 4 and 5, vision of God's throne, and then chapter 5, the Lamb on God's throne, is like in Acts 1, Jesus ascended image. And then he acts to judge, and he has the authority to judge. Why? Because he's ascended, right? And so much of this is about helping us understand the vast theological implications of the ascension. And then, so people say, well, when does it start talking about the future? And I think it largely starts talking about the future in chapters 21 and 22. 20, 21, 22, you have this image of final judgment, the consummation of the new creation, heaven and earth are joined together, the redeemed are brought into their final glory, and they inhabit the new creation. But Revelation as a whole, starting, from chapter, like if you read like the Left Behind series, the future stuff starts with chapter 4.
Sure.
Right.
Right. So everything from chapter 4 on to the end is still future for us.
Yeah.
I would want to say that's not the way it was intended to be read. That chapter 4 through chapter 20, largely 19, 20, kind of depending on how you tease it out, is theological, apocalyptic, visionary commentary on the ascension.
Yeah.
From every angle imaginable. And so if Jesus is the ascended Lord, then he has authority to judge. If he's the ascended Lord, then he's died. His death is effective to save a people for himself. If he's the ascended Lord, then he's commissioned his people to rescue people from every tribe, nation, tongue. If he's the ascended Lord, then he's sending his angels to judge, right?
Sure.
All of the things depend on the premise
ascension.
that he is the ascended Lord.
Right.
Yeah. Revelation is a visionary it's a visionary explanation of the ascension.